Hey, Galactic Geeks, it's Devin. Welcome to another episode of the OaMG Podcast. I believe this is right around the 10th, I believe. Maybe the 8th or something like that. Either way, it doesn't matter. As part of bringing the channel back, I'll also be bringing back this podcast. Sometimes it'll just be me, like today, and sometimes I'll have guests on. Maybe Brad, maybe some other people, it all depends. So, today's topic is going to be comics or graphic novels, that kind of thing, that I believe would be good turned into a movie or a TV show. And I'm trying to stay away from, superheroes in that matter because those are kind of being overdone right now. And not that they're bad, just so much that there's a lot of it out there right now, and you kind of want diversity with things like this. So, you know, get some different ideas out there. I'm aiming for this to be right around 45 minutes to an hour. We'll see if I get there or if I get close to that. The best thing that I can say is sometimes I'll be doing news on this, sometimes I won't. This particular week, there doesn't happen to be any news necessary for me to relay to you guys. So we're just going to get right into the topic for today. And like I said, I'm going to be doing comics that are not necessarily superhero themed. They can be, but not mainstream superheroes, really. And also, I kind of want to stay away from. Uh, Sorry about that, guys. I had to cough real quick. What I was saying is, I'm going to try and stay away from leaning too heavily as to whether or not they're already in production. A decent amount of the ones on this list are. Um, this is a list I made myself, by the way. You might find these on lists like this, but I didn't look at any of those kind of lists for this. I just went off of things that I've already read. So, with having said that, let's get started into that. All right. So the first one I had, and this is in no particular order. These are just listed out as I thought of them, not like this should be a better one than this one or anything like that. So the first one is it's an image series called Cowl, and it's Cowl like Batman's cowl, Cowl with periods between the letters. A it's an image book, and it's by Kyle Higgins, and it's superhero based, but in a neat little twist. It's about a labor union of superheroes in Chicago in the 50s, I believe it is. Um, it's a really good run, and unfortunately, it got kind of cut short. It was only at like 11, I think, when it got canceled. But I was a big fan. I bought it every week, and I like Kyle Higgins' work. He's also done some Batman Beyond that I enjoyed, and other things of that nature. But the as to whether this should be a movie or a TV show, I kind of feel like this one should be more of a film. It kind of has the perfect amount of issues. It's right at 11, and so it's not that hard to convert 11 issues, which is 2 volumes, into a movie. I don't think that it would work as well as a TV show. I mean, you could maybe delve into more of the character development side, but I mean, at the same time, there's only 10 or so main characters in the story, and that's not that hard to do in a film. It has a pretty interesting topic, as in, the labor union of the superheroes, so, like, it has real problems, like, overtime and jurisdiction and that kind of stuff, and that's a interesting way to explore the superhero genre, especially in what we have now, where, especially even in, like, movies like Civil War and stuff where the heroes are supposed to be restricted and stuff like that, they end up being able to do mostly whatever they want anyway. I mean, several times in Civil War, spoilers for all these stories and stuff, by the way, but for Civil War, Captain America and Falcon and all them are specifically told certain things in the movie that they're not allowed to do and stuff like that, and then they find out a way to do them anyway. And that's not an uncommon theme in the Marvel movies. It's not it wouldn't make for a great movie if they didn't get to go around and do what they needed to do. But at the same time, this is real structure, real order as to what they can do, and I find that interesting. Um, I have not heard whether there's any development or on this. I don't believe so. I feel like it was kind of canceled because it wasn't that popular. But I mean, it's not that bad of a story, and you could easily get a film out of that, I think. Um, as for as for a TV show, I'm not sure it would work that well, mainly because you would it's with superheroes, it's kind of hard to do superhero television shows, and I know they've done Jessica Jones and they've done Daredevil and all that stuff, but I mean, it's kind of hard to show superpowers with a TV budget, and especially like in a show like this where people can fly and stuff like that, and they have like laser beams and that stuff. It's sometimes that's harder to portray well in TV. Like I've seen a couple episodes of Supergirl, and it's okay. It's not bad, but I would argue for sure the thing that lets it down the most is the budget. Like it does not look awful, but I mean it could look better. You know what I'm saying? And if it has a film, it has the budget to do those kind of things. Next we have Lazarus. Lazarus is a ongoing story by Greg Rucka, and it's pretty interesting. It's set in a dystopian future, and there's like 16, I think, families that control the territory, and it's run kind of like a feudal system. So like those families own their land, and then they own the people on the land, and the people work for the family, and that kind of stuff. But each family has a thing called a Lazarus. And essentially, what that is it's a protector of the family, and these can range anywhere from you know tech to like superpowers and that kind of thing. Not necessarily superpowers, but they're all enhanced, and they protect the family. The one we follow is Forever Carlisle from the Carlisle family, and she's enhanced to have like super strength, and at one point I believe she gets like X-ray vision and stuff. Not like Superman super strength, but like enhanced strength. She's stronger than the typical kind of person, and then she has better vision, and she's was raised to be this Lazarus thing. But it's a real good dystopian future kind of thing, and right now the talk is that it's being made into a TV show, which I don't necessarily disagree with. I think it would be a good TV show. My problems with that would be that it would almost seem too slow. I believe there's like 4, maybe 5 volumes out at the moment, and I've read the first 2. And I've been meaning to get to the next couple, but it's just a matter of the store in my town having it in stock. But the book does do very good character development and world building and such things like that. But I feel like it's paced perfectly. So like each volume, you're just like really fast. You're like, okay, I get it. It's great. It's awesome. It's really cool. And I feel if you did a TV show, depending on how many episodes a season you did, it might be a little too slow. I feel like if you were to do a film, it's perfectly paced. It's got the graphic novel. Essentially, you could do a graphic novel per film, is what it relates to. And I feel like, especially for the first volume, and kind of for the second one, and I haven't read the ones further, but I imagine they're roughly the same. Each graphic novel feels like a season of a show or a movie to me. And you could have multiple movies or multiple seasons. But personally, I think it would work better as a film because, like I said, the pacing is perfect. Like, you get introduced to this character, you go on a mission or two, some other stuff happens, and I'm not going to spoil it, like, hardcore. When I said spoilers for these, I just meant, like, light spoilers so that I can describe them to you a little bit. But it's perfectly paced for a novel or a movie. Somewhere in the 2 hour, 210 range would be perfect for something like this. Um, and I may or may not have casting on some of these that I've thought of. This one, I think, is the only one. I thought that Emily Blunt would be kind of perfect for this role. I mean, she's a little on the older side, not in a bad way, just stat, factually speaking. I think that the character is supposed to be like in her 20s or her early 30s. And Emily Blunt could definitely pull that off. It's just, I don't think she is. But, like I said, the word is currently that's being made into a TV show. I have no idea as to the progress. It could have been dropped. It could have been, I just read that maybe it'll be a TV series soon. So I'd be interested in either, but once again, I'd kind of prefer the film. Next, we have Manifest Destiny. This is one of my favorite graphic novels I've actually read. Well, it's an ongoing comic series, but you get the point. It's written by Chris Dingus. It's also an image book. Most of these are image books, but some aren't. Manifest Destiny it's the story of Lewis and Clark, but with like a horror alternate twist, kind of. So like it's Lewis and Clark going to discover the Mississippi Purchase or the Louisiana Purchase, but it's got twists and turns and certain things and deadly creatures out there, and it's really intriguing, and I feel like you guys would really like it if you read it. I recommend all of these, by the way, if that's not obvious. If I don't, it's pretty obvious that if I want them turned into a movie or a TV show, I like them. But I'd recommend this one particularly. I wouldn't say it's as well known, but you never know. Like, maybe you know a guy who knows it. But it's an interesting topic, I feel, and it would work. I think it would lend itself really well to a TV show. Most of these are going to be the same layout, kind of like a graphic novel per season or movie. But a graphic novel per season of this would be really well, especially for the first arc. It would work itself really well to like a 10, 11, maybe 12 episode season. You'd start, like, you could do 1 or 2 episodes before they actually go out on the adventure, and then from there, chaos and stuff ensues. Let's see, Fables. Obviously, Fables, you can't really have a list like this without mentioning certain things, and this is one of them. Fables is written by Bill Willingham, and it follows generally just like, I don't want to say fairy tale, but kind of those classic stories from your childhood, like Cinderella and Little Red Riding Hood and Snow White and stuff like that. The main character in this is actually Bigby Wolf, which is, the big bad wolf. And it's been transferred into a couple different mediums. There's the graphic novels, and then they made the book or the movie, or they're working on a movie supposedly. I don't know for sure because the last thing I could find was from January 2015 was the last time I could find a word on whether or not this was still being made, so that's kind of hard to say. But it's already been transferred into a video game fairly well, The Wolf Among Us, which is one of those Telltale games, and I like that game quite a bit. It's kind of loosely based on Fables, but at the same time, it's got the same characters and the overarching structure, but it doesn't directly tie into the comic in any way necessarily. Like, the comic isn't. It doesn't just take a story from the comic and put it into a video game form. It kind of does its own thing while still staying true to the characters and that kind of thing. Once again, with this one, I feel like it'd be a better TV show than a movie, mainly just because there's so many characters involved in this that you would need only the kind of time that a TV show could give you rather than a movie to expand on all their characters and their sympathies and all that stuff. You could do a movie without any problem, but you wouldn't get as deep into the lore and stuff as I would like. And so, for that reason, I would say a TV show. You get better character development and that kind of thing. Because, like, their entire characters they would probably cut out from the movie, or they would just throw them in, like, in runaway lines that are fan favorites and stuff like that I'd be worried about them crossing over. Well, I don't think we're going to hit 45 minutes, guys, but I do have a few more, so I'll keep going. This will probably be like 30 minutes. Next is Witches. So Witches is a book by Scott Snyder, and it's really good, guys. It's about exactly that. It's about witches. But it's like an actually scary story, and like you're genuinely scared if you read it in the right way and stuff. It only has one volume or 6 issues out right now, but that's part of the beauty of it is I think that would help it in a way, and I'll explain that in a minute here. They are working on a volume 2. It actually, an interview with the artist Jock, as of October 2016, he says that Snyder is actually working on part 2, but I think it works perfectly without a part 2. I mean, it should get a part 2, but the way they have it set up right now would work perfectly without a part 2. This is one of those that's in production, supposedly. It was bought, like, when it came out in, like, 2014, 2015, I think it was, by Plan B, Brad Pitt's production company. And supposedly it's being made into a movie still. But, you know, it's one of those that's being made, but you don't hear anything about, and there's not news stories coming about. So, you know, it's possible that it's being stalled currently or something like along those lines. But I'll explain why I think that it would work perfectly with just the one volume currently. The first volume is very scary, and it's not necessarily cliffhangery, but it does have enough of a hook that really, really, really wants you to get like a part 2. And I feel like you could capitalize on that by making the movie now with the structure that you have and the story you have and setting it up real well for a sequel. And it would be one of those situations where even if the movie didn't necessarily make money, which I think it would, even if it didn't necessarily make money, you could still probably get a sequel out of it just because you'd tie up those loose ends and people would want you to. It could also end up being that it didn't make money and that it would be one of those movies that is part of a series that just gets left with a cliffhanger, but I doubt it. Especially with Scott Snyder, his writing. He's a very talented writer. He was on Batman for all of the New 52 run essentially, and that was some of the best Batman that we've gotten in recent years. Plus Southern Vampire and, you know, stuff like that, or American Vampire. But, you know, he's written a lot of classics and a lot of good stuff. And I feel like with his writing behind this, if he was a producer or a writer or something on the movie and he was sitting there making sure that they got it right, I feel like it would turn out really well. And like I said, if Volume 2 hasn't come out by the time the movie comes out, then no one will be able to figure out what's happening next. You could leave it on a cliffhanger-ish kind of thing, and no one would be able to figure out what's coming next because there is no Volume 2 yet, which you would probably release after the movie if you could wait that long. I don't know. From the few people I know who have read this book, they're very impatient and waiting for that Volume 2, but I think they would understand if Snyder went and he made time to made time for this movie and was heavily involved in it. Next, this one I'm not even going to go very far into because it's super obvious. Sandman by Neil Gaiman. Just make a movie or a TV show or something, but do it, please. Everyone's been waiting for that, and I know people who are way more into it than I am. I've only read half of like one volume, I think, but I was intrigued by that. And I have a buddy or two that have told me that it's excellent. They've read multiple volumes of it, and that it's really good. I love Neil Gaiman. I've liked a lot of the things that he's done, so I can't imagine that would be the bad part of it. And this is another one of those where it's constantly being said it's a movie or a TV show, and then it keeps getting dropped. Relatively recently, we had that whole thing with Joseph Gordon-Levitt being cast and then dropping out. And I'm really okay with however they want to do it, but just please do it, Like, just find someone, if probably not Neil Gaiman, but find someone who's very interested in this, like supposedly that Joseph Gordon-Levitt was, who was very interested in making this into a movie. Find someone who's passionate about making it. Let them make it. Don't interfere, even if you think that some part of it might not be liked as much. Don't interfere. Let them make what they want to make. They know, because they are fans, what will come of it. And hopefully we'll get a decent adaptation of that one time. Alright, so next, these next two are by the same author, so I'm just going to skip saying that for the second time. But it's Mark Millar. The first one is Superior. And if you know anything about Mark Millar, a lot of his books have been made into movies already. For example, you have Civil War was a Mark Millar book, and while the book and the movie are quite different, it is based off of the book in some way or another. Then you have, like, Kingsman was made last year or the year before, and the sequel's coming out this year. And that was an excellent film. From what I've read of the book, it's pretty good, Mark Millar has a long history of having his things made into movies. Wanted was one of his books. Kingsman was one of his books. Civil War, Kick-Ass was his book. And I'm sure there's one or two more that I'm forgetting, but off the top of my head, but yeah, it's really, a lot of his stuff is almost tailor-made for movies, and you can see why with the perfect pacing of his novels or his graphic novels and stuff like that. Superior is the one that I'm talking about specifically right now. Superior it's kind of like a Superman story, but in a different way. It's in this world where there's like I think he's 12 or 13, but there's a sick boy, and he idolizes this superhero in comics called Superior, and he's essentially like a Superman archetype, super strong, flies, invulnerable, all the good stuff. But he gets a wish, and he uses his wish to become superior for like a week or two, and then he finds out that there's a cost to him being superior, so he stops being superior, but then things happen that make it so that he might have to come back, even if it costs him. And it's a really good, it gets kind of emotional storyline, and it's superhero, so that'll draw people in. And also the fact that, like, you have the empathy of, like, a sick child and stuff like that. It all adds for good character for development, and not even that hard to write, I would imagine. This is another one of those that's supposedly in production. It's definitely been, the film rights, I believe, have been bought, and they've started, considering making it, but I don't know anything about, like, casting or anything like that. The last thing I saw about anything like that was that when that movie Trainwrecked with Amy Schumer came out, John Cena, Mark Millar said that John Cena should play Superior, which I don't know. I didn't read any of the interviews or anything like that, so I don't know if he was being serious or if he was just making jokes or whatnot. But, I mean, it's possible that he thinks that that's true, and I mean, he certainly has the body structure. I don't know if he has the acting range, but it's possible. The next one, also a Mark Millar story, is Nemesis. And if any of you know what that is, then you already know that it would work perfectly for a film. So Nemesis is essentially It's kind of like an evil Batman. There's no superheroes in the world except for this one guy, and he's not even really a superhero. He's just really rich. So he dresses in an all white suit with a cape and stuff, and he finds like the best police officers and stuff like that, and he sends them a card with like a day and a time on it, and that's the day that they're going to die and the time they're going to die, and he's going to kill them. But he doesn't. I mean, I believe he doesn't tell them how, or maybe he does tell them how. I think he does, but I don't remember. But it's it's perfectly set up for a film because it's a cold open onto he's killing a police officer from like Japan, I think it is, and he does it exactly how the card says and stuff, and then it goes straight into one from America, and then the rest of the graphic novel takes place from there. And so like you don't have to shuffle your way through an origin story or anything like that. You just introduce them in little bits as you go, because you really don't know that much about him throughout the book. Once again, it's got the book has a great setup for a sequel. Therefore, the first movie, if it became a movie, would have a great setup for a sequel as well. You could make a franchise out of it, I guess, because the way that it leads into a sequel is pretty brilliant, and it's set up so that this could go on for a while. This is another one of those that's supposedly in production, but I can't find any information on. I think I heard a rumor like a year and a half ago that maybe Liam Neeson was going to play the American sheriff or whatever, but that wasn't confirmed or anything, and I don't remember how I heard it, so it could be completely out there and crazy, and I would have no idea. But I would thoroughly enjoy that, and I think that you guys would too if you saw it or read it or anything like that. Okay, so I'm down to my last two here, guys, and I'm going to change it up a little bit. These are novels, or series of novels, that I think should be turned into TV or film. Uh, I don't think either of these are currently being made into TV or film, so I'll just go into that. I'll go into this straight out of that. Okay, so these are both zombie based, but not on purpose. They were just, I thought of them as good books and good series, and I didn't think towards, oh, why I should make a zombie grouping, just that they both coincidentally happen to be zombie things. Okay, so the first one is the Enemy series, and it's written by Charlie Hickson. A lot of you might know about this. It's about a bunch of, let's see, so essentially there's like a disease and it strikes the adults. And all adults turn into essentially what are zombies. I don't know if they'll use the word in zombies, but they're infected and they turn into zombies, basically. And it's all about anyone under 18 not being a zombie and trying to survive, but still having to deal with those adult issues. So, like, they still fall in love and stuff like that. You know, they're 15, 16-year-old kids. And then there's also, like, little kids, like kindergartners and stuff, that they also have to watch over and stuff like that. And it's interesting because they're still children. It's like a Lord of the Flies aspect, kind of. They're still children, but they have to deal with adult issues like how to feed themselves and if they should move or if they should stay where they're at and things like that. But I believe that there's 7 books in the series, and I believe the 7th is the last one. I've read the first 3, so I know. And the first one's kind of separate, you know, like, the first one is a good book, and then the second one kind of takes, like, side characters, roughly, from the first one, and then continues their story, and I do believe that they are continued through the rest of the books, but I don't know for sure. Like I said, I've only read the first 3, but, the first one in particular I thought was really good. So the way I would see it is you could probably do a movie if you were going to do the first book, but if you were going to do the whole series, maybe a TV show would be fine. I think it would be hard to do a TV show though, because like I said, these are all children under the age of 18. So it would be kind of hard to do a movie. Well, it would be easier to do a movie, I would argue, from a logical standpoint, as in it would be easier to cast a bunch of kids who are under 18 at the moment, film a movie, get it done with while they're still underage, and that way it would be more realistic and you wouldn't have to hire like 20 somethings to be teenagers and stuff. But then you also run into the problem that you won't get as good of character development, or maybe you could not run it as long. Um, Personally, I think it would work better as a TV show, but once again, that's a lot harder to do because they're all under 18, and so if you want to be true to the source material, you have to hire people who are under 18, and they're not going to stay under 18 forever, and, especially with the way Hollywood works, it takes, like, I don't know, 6 months to film a season, and then it, like, goes to post-production for, like, 6 months, and then it gets released slowly over, like, 6 months, and then you're filming again for 6 months, and so right there's a year and a half between filming, and your stars are going to get older and they're going to start to look less like they're teenagers, or if they're like the really young children, then they're going to look really older faster. It just depends how long you would want to make it run. I would say, like I said earlier, I think I would say if you want to do the first book following those characters, probably best to just do a movie, hire people who are under 18, get it done real quick and release it, and not make it. You could make a series out of it, but maybe follow different groups of kids every time, and not necessarily the ones in the books. Just loosely base it on the books. But if you wanted to follow the actual book series, you might want to do a TV show just because of the recurring characters and all their stories and stuff like that. But once again, it would be harder to keep them under 18 for a while, so you might have to film seasons back to back, or however you want to do that. And the last one I have here is X Heroes. X Heroes is written by Peter Clines, and it's an interesting topic. It's superheroes versus zombies. And so it's basically superheroes are real in this universe, and they are protecting people from hordes of zombies. And so, like, the first one is called X Heroes, and it takes place in a mall. I want to say it's like a mall, or like it's somewhere that's closed in, and there's a few heroes there, and they protect like hundreds or thousands of regular civilians with their powers and stuff like that. And it's just an interesting take on the superhero genre and the zombie genre, and a way to cross them over, and the book takes itself pretty seriously, not like in a bad way, just it is a serious topic. There's nothing really to joke around about. But you could play this off as a comedy or something like that. I mean, you could make it like a zombie land kind of thing with superheroes where it's like, oh, klutzy superhero went and got himself bit or something, like that. It wouldn't be as good, and it wouldn't be as true to the source material, but if you were looking for a way to do that, you could probably do that. This is one of those that I would definitely say would be better as a film, mainly because the concept of superheroes, as I got into earlier, it works better in film than it does TV, I would say, at the moment. Like, especially some of the powers that characters in these books have, it would be better to show them with CG, and, like, good CG, rather than, like, TV CG or stuff like that. And the stories aren't, like, overly long and, like, convoluted to the point where you would need a season to figure out what's going on. Sorry about that, I bumped the mic. But, you wouldn't need a whole season to figure out what's going on. You could get it fairly quickly, and you could do multiple movies if you wanted to. You can always add to things and stuff like that. But I would definitely argue film over TV here, just because sheer amount of I don't even know sheer amount of CGI you would need to show all the amount of zombies and stuff like that. And once again, it's not always a bad thing to go TV over movies or movies over TV. I do enjoy both. It's just certain things can't be shown on TV as they can be in the movies, I would say. And you could definitely have flying effects or whatever kind of superpowers that you would give them in the TV. I don't think it's necessary to stretch out that long. You could tell the story in a nice hour, 45 minutes, 2:15-ish if you wanted to skip some stuff, And it would still be overall pretty well received, I would think. Okay, so that's all of them that I have on the list for now. I might do this again in the future once I've read more graphic novels and stuff like that and get better ideas. And obviously, these are only ones that I've read or I've read parts of. So things like, I'm sure people are waiting for me to say Saga or, The Wicked and the Divine. I'm not really one to say on those. I've heard they're great, especially Saga I've heard is really good. And I've read like half of a volume of Wicked and Divine, and it wasn't really for me, but I can see how people got into it. And so, like, obviously, I'm not going to mention ones on this podcast that I haven't heard or haven't read or anything like that. So, like I said, I might do this again in the future once I've read more, and maybe I'll read those and I'll give them a shot. But for now, that's my list. As I said, I'm going to be doing this podcast, and I'm going to try and keep it fairly regular, maybe once every 2 weeks. And it'll be longer, shorter, just depending on who's on and if it's just me or what my topic is. I thought I was going to get this one to about 45 minutes, and it looks like it's going to end up being around like 40, 41. So that's not awful, but I'm going to try and keep them a little longer than 45 minutes if I can help. This was just the first one back, and so I was getting back into the swing of things and didn't do as much research as I probably could have. But personally, I don't like listening to podcasts that are less than an hour an episode because for me, I don't have an aux cord or anything in my car, so I have to change them to CDs, and it's not really worth the hassle if they're not that long. So I try to, and I mean, this will be on YouTube, and maybe if I can, I'll try and get it onto iTunes or something like that. But so that won't be as big of a problem while it's just on YouTube. But either way, enough boring you with the details. This is the OaMG Podcast. This is Devin for Galactic Geek Entertainment. Keep an eye out for videos coming out. I know that I made that video saying that I was coming back, and then there's been silence up until this video. Well, that's kind of because nothing really has come out review-worthy yet. I mean, Fast and the Furious came out, but I mean, I don't really need to do a review over that. You all know what those are at this point. They are dumb plot, good action films, and that's exactly what it was. The next thing that I believe April 28th, I'm recording this on Tuesday in the morning, so I believe Friday, I think The Circle comes out, and so I'll probably do a review on that for sure. And then, not this week, but next week, Guardians 2 comes out, and obviously I'll be doing a review on that. If things work out the way I think they do, I might have Dr. D from way back when, if you remember my collaboration video with him. It's on his channel, Dr. D on YouTube. So just type in Dr. D if you want to find it, and it's Try Not to Laugh video we did about 2 years ago, I want to say. A year or two ago, somewhere in there. But if all works out well, we'll be seeing that movie together, and I might have him come into the video and help with the review if all things line up well. So, having said that, and knowing that I'll be back very soon, and I apologize that I restarted the channel at a time when a lot of movies weren't coming out that were review-worthy. Having said all that, I'm glad to be back. I hope you guys are excited to have me back. help spread the word so we can get this out to more people. The more people that do it, the more people who can suggest topics that I can do and stuff like that. And the more people who suggest topics that I can do, the more topics I can do. So, having said that, I'm going to sign off, and I'll see you the next time.